Hey, sleepy listener. Welcome to Sleeping Podcast. Where in the world are you listening from? Let us know in the comments. And if you're ready to drift off, like and subscribe. And let's begin.
Hello there, and welcome. You've arrived in a quiet place, a gentle corner of time, where words drift slowly, where thoughts soften, and where the weight of the day can gently dissolve. As you listen, there is nothing you need to do, no expectations, no tasks waiting for you here. Only a soft unfolding of images carried on calm words, designed to help you rest. Tonight, we will journey together into the story of our planet, into a chapter that feels both distant and yet strangely close. A chapter that shaped the ground beneath our feet, the valleys and lakes we know today, even the winters we still feel. We are going to travel into the Ice Age, a time when the world looked very different. Colder, wilder, yet filled with a beauty all its own. Imagine, if you will, the Earth as it is now: blue oceans, swirling clouds, forests, deserts, and cities glowing in the night. Now, imagine that same Earth tens of thousands of years ago, wrapped in white. Vast blankets of ice stretching across continents, mountains capped with frozen crowns, winds brushing across open plains where immense creatures walked slowly, leaving deep tracks in the snow. This is not just a single moment in history. The Ice Age was long, a sweeping chapter in Earth's book. It lasted for tens of thousands of years, shaping the planet with quiet persistence. But do not think of it as something harsh or violent. Here, in this telling, the Ice Age becomes something calm, serene, meditative, a slow rhythm of snow and ice, of starlit skies and quiet breath, of glaciers that moved not in days, but in centuries. As we walk softly through this story, there is no rush. You may allow each description to flow past you like a gentle current. If your mind wanders, that is perfectly fine. The words will still be here, patiently waiting, flowing gently around you. The Ice Age was a time of astonishing beauty. Frozen rivers glimmering under pale winter suns, auroras shimmering in green and purple curtains across the night sky. Herds of animals roaming silent plains, their breaths rising in silver mist, and above it all, the stars, cold, brilliant, endless, keeping watch over an earth hushed in ice. It was not a world of noise, nor of speed. It was a world of stillness, a world where time stretched out like the horizon, slow and unhurried. Dot as you breathe now, slowly and deeply, you may feel yourself settling into that rhythm, the rhythm of a world moving at the pace of ice, the rhythm of a planet breathing in cycles far greater than our own. There is comfort in knowing that we are part of that long story, that the ground beneath us carries memory far older than any human life, that the winds, the seas, and even the stones remember what it was like to live through the Ice Age. So tonight, let us begin our slow journey. Together, we will walk softly, be into frozen landscapes, We will meet the creatures who lived there. We will listen to the silence of glaciers and the whispers of ancient forests. And gradually, gently, we will come to rest in the stillness of deep time. You are safe here. You are warm. You are carried softly into the story. And so we begin. Before we step fully into the Ice Age. Let us pause and imagine the Earth as a whole. Picture it now, floating in the quiet, dark sea of space, a round, blue world, turning gently, slowly, suspended in the endless stillness of the cosmos. Swirls of white cloud drift lazily across its surface. Oceans shimmer in vast sheets of blue. Forests appear like green brushstrokes, deserts like soft golden sands. From far away, it looks peaceful, whole, balanced. And yet, this beautiful planet is never truly still. It has always been moving through rhythms, gentle, sweeping cycles of change. For millions of years, Earth has known times of warmth and times of cold. Oceans have risen and fallen. Forests have spread and retreated. Life has flourished, shifted and adapted, always finding a way to move with the rhythm of the planet. The Ice Age is one of these rhythms, not an exception, but a part of the natural dance. When we speak of the Ice Age, we are really speaking of an age when large sheets of ice, called glaciers, grew wide and heavy, pressing themselves across to continents. These glaciers were not small. They were enormous, unimaginable in size. They covered mountains and plains, stretching hundreds, even thousands of miles. They carved valleys deep into the land, shaped ridges and hills, and shifted the courses of rivers. The world before the Ice Age did not know this frozen weight. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, the change began. It was not sudden, it was not dramatic. It was a quiet turning. A balance shifted in the orbit of the Earth, the tilt of its axis, the delicate breath of its atmosphere. The sun's warmth reached the planet just a little differently, and with that subtle shift, the world began to cool. Imagine it with me. The air grows cooler. The winters stretch longer, year after year. Snow begins to linger after the spring sun has returned. Even in summer, the warmth cannot melt it all away. And so, a thin layer of snow remains, waiting for the next winter, and then another layer settles on top, and another, over thousands of years. The snow presses down upon itself. It becomes ice. The ice grows heavier. It begins to move inch by inch, forming glaciers, rivers of frozen time. And with them, the earth begins to change. Mountains that once stood sharp and jagged are slowly polished smooth. Rivers are blocked and turned, their paths altered forever. Valleys are widened, becoming great, sweeping basins. And all the while, the world grows quieter, colder, slower. This is how an ice age begins. Not with a single moment, but with countless moments. Not with a sudden frost, but with a gentle accumulation. A flake of snow, then another, until the balance tips and the world is remade in ice. Even as the ice spread, life continued. The oceans still rose and fell with the moon. The forests at the edges of the cold still breathed, stretching their roots into the soil. Animals walked the plains, adapting with each season. The earth, in its vastness, was not ending. It was only shifting, as it always has, and as it always will. And so, before we step further into this frozen chapter, we hold this image, a planet moving through rhythms, a world breathing slowly, across spans of time longer than we can imagine, a gentle reminder that even the coldest age is only part of a greater cycle. Asterisk. Now, picture yourself standing at the edge of a glacier. The year could be 40,000 years ago, or perhaps 60,000. It doesn't matter exactly when. Time in the Ice Age feels vast, stretching so far that the numbers become soft, almost dreamlike. Here, you are surrounded by a world that is at once immense and quiet. The glacier before you is not just a flat sheet of frozen white. It is alive, a moving, breathing body of ice. If you listen closely, you can hear it. The soft groan as the ice shifts under its own weight, the faint crack that echoes deep within as a ridge gives way and slowly settles again. Every sound is drawn out, as if the glacier itself is speaking in a language of centuries. Beneath your feet, the ice stretches endlessly. The surface glitters beneath a pale sun, each crystal catching the light, turning the glacier into a wide, shimmering mirror. Here and there, blue cracks open, deep and mysterious, like rivers frozen inside other rivers. They remind you that this ice is not just stillness, it is movement, slow but unyielding. Lift your eyes beyond the glacier. Stretching before you are endless plains. The horizon feels far away, softened by a thin veil of drifting snow. The wind carries it gently, scattering small white grains across the ground like delicate dust. In the distance, you see movement. A herd of mammoths, tall and shaggy, their long curved tusks gleaming faintly in the pale light. Their breath rises in slow clouds, drifting into the frozen air. They walk patiently, step by step, in a line across the plain, steady, unhurried. Beside them, woolly rhinoceroses move carefully, brushing snow aside with their heavy horns to reach the dry grass hidden below. Everywhere you look, the world seems to move at a slower rhythm. Each creature is deliberate, conserving energy, conserving warmth. Each breath is visible, a faint ghost of heat against the still air. And then you notice the quiet. The air is cold, yes, crisp and sharp against your skin, but it is also still, calming. The sounds are few, and each carries clearly the crunch of snow beneath a heavy paw, the sigh of wind through icy grass, the distant, echoing crack of ice shifting in the glacier's heart. There is no rush here, no noise, only the steady rhythm of an earth wrapped in ice. As you stand in this frozen stillness, you begin to feel what the Ice Age truly was. Not just a chapter of cold, but a chapter of silence. A world slowed down, where time stretched wider than any single life. Even the animals seem to know this rhythm. They move in harmony with it, following paths worn by generations, guided by instincts as old as the land itself. Their pace matches the glaciers, not hurried, not restless, just steady. If you look upward, the sky above the plain is pale, almost silver. A thin sun glows faintly, casting long, soft shadows. The light here is not harsh, but muted, as if softened by the snow itself. And when night comes, the stars will sharpen into brilliant points of light, filling the sky with their cold clarity. Standing here, you are part of that moment, part of a world that is quiet, immense, and deeply calm. This is the beginning of our true step into the Ice Age, not as a set of numbers or distant facts, but as a feeling, a stillness you can almost breathe, a slowness you can almost rest. Inside here, at the edge of the glacier, time does not rush. It drifts, it expands, like the horizon. And as you take in the cold air, the glittering ice, the slow steps of mammoths in the distance, you begin to understand this was the Ice Age, not simply a world of cold, but a world of patience, a world of silence, a world of vast, frozen beauty. Asterisk, though the world was wrapped in ice, it was not empty. Even in the coldest times, life endured. Life always endures. And in its endless creativity, life found ways to adapt, to breathe, to move gently through the frozen stillness of the Ice Age. Imagine now the great mammoth, biddy, cloaked in long, shaggy hair, thick as a blanket, its sweeping tusks curving wide, like crescents of ivory against the pale horizon. These tusks were not just weapons or tools. They were guides, helping the mammoth dig deep into the snow, uncovering the hidden grasses beneath. Herds moved together, slow and steady, step after step, mothers and calves, old ones and young. Their heavy feet pressed deep into the frost, leaving trails that other animals might follow. They traveled not in haste, but in patience, always seeking food, always listening to the rhythm of the land nearby. Perhaps unseen at first, another creature moved, the saber-toothed cat, silent, powerful, its body low to the ground, muscles coiled with quiet strength. Its long teeth, sharp as ivory blades, gleamed faintly in the dim light. It moved carefully, with precision, every step measured, every movement part of a patient hunt. These great cats were not reckless. They lived as the glacier lived, slow, deliberate, waiting for the right moment. Farther south, away from the reach of the heaviest ice, forests stretched quietly, and within them lumbered the giant ground sloth, a creature of immense size, moving with surprising gentleness. Step by slow step, it wandered through the woodlands, pulling down branches with its long arms, feeding on leaves and bark. Its pace was calm, unhurried, as though time itself bent around it. And of course, not all life was immense. The Ice Age belonged also to the small ones, the hares that darted across the snow, leaving tiny trails behind them, the voles that tunneled beneath the frost, hidden and safe in their small burrows, the snowy owls, their wings wide and silent, gliding across the frozen plains in search of movement below. Each creature had its place, each had its rhythm, the large and the small, the hunter and the hunted, all woven together into the quiet fabric of this cold world. If you listen closely, you can almost hear it now. The slow rumble of mammoth herds in the distance, the faint rustle of a hare moving through snow, the whisper of wings as an owl drifts overhead, the hush of a predator's paw pressing silently into the frost. Every sound was part of the music of the Ice Age, not loud, not chaotic, but gentle, steady, balanced. Life in the Ice Age did not resist the cold. It adapted to it. Thick coats, long tusks, sharp claws, careful movements. Every creature breathed with the rhythm of winter, finding its way within the stillness. And though these animals are gone now, their bones lying deep in soil, their tracks long since melted away, they have left traces, footprints pressed into frozen ground, now preserved as stone. Bones hidden in caves and riverbeds, carvings and paintings on walls left by early humans who walked among them. These faint signs are whispers of the past. They tell us that life was never absent, even in the coldest days. They remind us that even in the harshest climates, the earth always finds a way to create, to sustain, to endure. So when we picture the Ice Age, we need not think only of empty white landscapes. We may also picture movement, herds walking slowly across frozen plains, cats stalking quietly in the snow, sloths lumbering beneath the shelter of ancient trees, owls gliding silently under moonlight. The Ice Age was alive in its own rhythm, slower perhaps than the one we know now, but no less rich, a rhythm of breath in the cold air, a rhythm of footsteps in the frost, a rhythm of life, finding balance in stillness. Somewhere among this frozen beauty, there were also people, early humans, our ancestors. Imagine them, now walking slowly across the wide, white plains. Their figures are small compared to the great mammoths, compared to the vast glaciers, compared to the endless horizon. And yet, they belong here just as much as the snow, the wind, the animals, and the stars. They are wrapped in furs, stitched carefully together from the hides of animals. Around their shoulders, across their legs, pulled tight against the chill. Their breath rises in soft clouds. Bare footsteps press gently into the snow. These early people carried with them something precious. Fire, not just a spark, but a companion. Fire meant warmth. Fire meant light. Fire meant safety. It was gathered carefully, kept alive, passed, poured from hand to hand, hearth to hearth, camp to camp. In the silence of the Ice Age, fire was more than heat. It was connection. They built shelters to circles of mammoth bone, covered with hides, anchored against the wind. Simple but strong. Inside, The air was warmer, softer, filled with the quiet murmur of voices, the crackle of flame. Families sat close together, sharing food, telling stories, shaping tools with patient hands. And when the work of the day was done, sometimes they painted. On the walls of caves, deep beneath the earth, they left marks that still endure. Curves of ochre, lines of black, shapes of animals, mammoths, bison, horses, deer, the same creatures they hunted, the same ones they followed across the plains. These paintings were more than pictures. They were conversations with the world. A way be saying, we are here too. A way of honoring the life around them, the breaths of animals, the rhythm of the seasons, the turning of the stars. In this gentle telling, we do not think of struggle. Instead, we think of connection. Humans walking softly, side by side with the world around them, breathing the same cold air, watching the same endless skies, listening to the same wind that whispered through the grass, that stirred the snow, that brushed across the surface of the ice. Picture them now, standing outside, their shelter at night. The world is dark and vast. Above them, the stars shimmer cold and bright. The constellations are not named yet, but the shapes are there. The hunter, the bear, the scattering of the Milky Way, a band of light stretching across the heavens, as if the sky itself were a river of ice. And perhaps they wondered, as we do now, about the vastness of time, about the turning of the seasons, about the rhythm of life and death, warmth and cold, day and night. Perhaps they felt, as we sometimes feel, very small beneath the stars, and yet, perhaps, also deeply connected, part of something larger, something timeless. Their lives were simple, but not empty. Every day carried its rhythm, gathering wood, following herds, knapping stone into tools, preparing food, telling stories by firelight, marking the passage of time with memory, with voice, with imagination. Even in the coldest nights, there was warmth, warmth in fire, warmth in company, warmth in the quiet bond between people. So when we think of humans in the Ice Age, we may picture them not only as hunters, not only as survivors, but as dreamers too, as watchers of the sky, as keepers of fire, as storytellers whose voices echoed gently across the plains. Their world was vast, their time was slow, and yet within that slowness, within that vastness, they found belonging, just as you, lying here now, can find belonging in this story, just as you can breathe deeply, softly, and feel yourself connected to them, to the earth, to the stars above. Asterisk, imagine a glacier again. But this time, do not see it as frozen, silent, or still. Instead, imagine it as something alive, a body of ice, immense and steady, yet always moving. It creeps forward at a pace so slow that human eyes could never see it shift, and yet, across centuries, across millennia, it reshapes the very bones of the earth. Glaciers are rivers of ice. They flow not with speed, but with patience. Their weight presses down, pressing deep into the rock below. Mountains are carved, their sharp edges softened by the grinding force. Valleys are deepened, their curves widened by the patient hand of ice. Rivers are caught and turned, their paths redirected into new journeys. The land itself becomes a sculpture of time. Every hill, every plain, every bend of a river, touched in some way by the long, slow passing of glaciers. If you stand at the edge of one, and if you are very still, you might hear it, a language older than words, the faint groan of pressure, deep within the frozen heart, the low rumble of ice shifting, grain by grain, ton by ton. The sharp crack of a ridge breaking before settling again into silence, and above it all, the soft whisper of snow falling, a sound like breath upon the skin of the earth. It is not silence here, though it feels close to silence. It is music played at the slowest tempo, Earth's own rhythm, steady and patient, unbothered by the rush of time. The glacier does not hurry. It does not worry. It does not measure itself against days or years. It simply moves. Imagine watching it from the height of a hill, in the pale light of the Ice Age sun. The great sheet of white stretches as far as the eye can see, gleaming with faint blues and silvers. Snow drifts gently across its surface, catching the wind, scattering like dust made of stars. Everywhere you look, the world is sculpted by its passage. The glacier has memory, though it does not speak. Within its layers, snowflakes from centuries ago are pressed into crystal. Each flake, each winter, each season, kept hidden, folded, put into the body of ice. If you could listen long enough, if you could place your ear against its surface and wait, perhaps you could hear the whisper of ages. Perhaps you could hear the story of winters long gone. This movement of ice is both powerful and gentle. It crushes stone, it bends mountains, it carves valleys, and yet it does this with no violence, no anger, no rush, only patience, only time. Think of a mountain standing tall, proud and sharp against the sky. Now imagine thousands of years passing as the glacier moves across it. The peak softens, the sides round out. What was once jagged becomes smooth. What was once towering becomes a gentle slope. The glacier sculpts without haste, and in the end, the mountain is changed forever. In this way, the world is always being shaped, not only by fire, not only by wind, but by ice, the quiet hand that touches the earth in slow motion. And you, listening now, can let that slowness move through you. You can allow yourself to feel the patience of the glacier, the calm of its steady flow. It does not resist. It does not struggle. It only moves forward, carrying time within itself. Perhaps you, too, can breathe in that patience. Perhaps you can let go of hurry, let go of wait, let go of the rush of moments. Like the glacier, you can simply be slow, gentle, steady. Picture yourself lying close to the ice now, the stars above you, sharp in the cold air. You hear the soft sigh of snow as it drifts down. You hear the quiet groan deep within the glacier's body. And as you listen, you feel small, not in a way that frightens, but in a way that comforts. For here is something larger than any worry, older than any thought, calmer than any storm. The glacier reminds us, time is long. The earth is patient, and in patience there is peace. So rest here for a while, in the presence of moving ice. Rest in its slowness, rest in its quiet power, rest in the knowledge that the earth, too, knows how to move without haste. And as you rest, let yourself drift with the glacier, not rushing, not pushing, simply flowing, slowly, gently, endlessly onward. Asterisk, the Ice Age did not only touch the land, it touched the waters too. The oceans, so vast and deep, felt the pull of cold across their surface, and the slow gathering of ice drew their waters away. When so much of the world's water was locked within glaciers, the seas sank lower than they are today. The coastlines stretched outward, exposing wide plains that had been hidden beneath waves for thousands of years. Beaches widened, cliffs stood taller above the shore. Rivers cut further into the sea, carrying their waters out across land that is now gone. And in this shifting of sea and land, bridges appeared. Continents that now stand apart were drawn together. A wide plain of frozen earth stretched between Asia and North America, a bridge across which herds of mammoths wandered, and where people too, wrapped in fur and carrying fire, crossed into new worlds. Other bridges rose as well, linking islands, reshaping the map of life on Earth. Land that is now sunken deep beneath the waves once carried grass, forest, and the prints of ancient feet. The oceans themselves changed rhythm. Their tides rose and fell in new patterns, responding to the great pulling of ice. Currents shifted, waters cooled, and whole ecosystems slowly adjusted to the colder touch of the age. But beneath the surface, life continued, quietly, patiently, in its own rhythm. The seas remained vast, dark, and mysterious, and though their edges had changed, their depths still held the pulse of life. Imagine now the waters of the Ice Age world, cold, still, and heavy with silence. Here and there, the surface is broken by sheets of floating ice, pale, flat islands drifting across the waves. Snow falls onto their backs, softening their edges. Seals climb onto them to rest, their dark eyes watchful, their breath rising in faint silver clouds that catch the dim light beneath these floating sheets. Whales drift slowly. Their massive bodies move through the dark water with calm, steady grace. From deep below, a call rises low, resonant, carrying far across the ocean. The sound lingers, echoing like a dream through the frozen seas. It is not hurried, not pear-sharp, but long and patient, the sound of a creature perfectly at home in this vast silence. Schools of cold water. Fish pass in silver clouds. Their bodies flash briefly, then vanish again into the dimness. Crabs and other small creatures wander across the seafloor, leaving faint trails in the sand. The rhythm of life in the ocean continues, as it always has, only adjusted to the chill of the age. To stand by the shore of such a sea would be to stand in quiet. The waves break gently, their voices softened by snow and ice. The horizon stretches outward calm and pale. No ships, no engines, no sound of human industry, only the endless breathing of water against stone. And yet, the ocean is never empty. Even in its stillness, it is full of hidden motion, hidden life. Tiny plankton drift with the currents, unseen, yet forming the base of all that swims above them. Jellyfish float like pale lanterns in the dark, pulsing gently, their bodies catching glimmers of faint light. Shadows of larger creatures move far below, their paths unknown, their stories untold. In this time, the seas remained a cradle. No matter how cold the earth became, no matter how heavy the ice pressed down upon the land, the waters of the ocean continued to breathe life into the world. Think for a moment of that silence. Not an emptiness, but a fullness of calm. The ocean's quiet is not the quiet of nothing, but the quiet of vastness. It is the stillness of something too large to be hurried, too deep to be disturbed. The seas of the Ice Age remind us that silence can also be alive, filled with slow movement, filled with unseen rhythm. Perhaps you can imagine yourself here, standing on the edge of a wide, frosted shore, where the sand is pale and hard with ice. Before you, the sea stretches outward, smooth and gray beneath the winter sky. You hear only the faint lap of waves, the soft breath of wind, and, if you listen closely, the distant call of a whale, rising from the depths. It is a sound not meant for you, and yet it reaches you. It is a reminder of life beyond sight, of worlds within worlds, of the patience of the ocean. And as you listen, perhaps you feel a calmness inside yourself, a sense that even when things appear still, there is movement. Even when all seems cold, there is warmth hidden in the depths. Even when silence surrounds you, there is life humming quietly beneath it. The oceans of the Ice Age carried that truth. They held their silence, but they never stopped breathing. They remained, as they always have, the deep cradle of life. So let yourself rest now in that cradle. Let yourself float in the still waters of imagination. Above you, the sky of the Ice Age is pale and wide. Around you, sheets of ice drift slowly, their edges glowing faintly in the dim light. Below you, whales pass in silence, their songs rising upward, filling the ocean with a calm that seems endless. And in that endlessness, you can rest. No rush, no worry. Only the deep, slow breathing of the sea. Now, let us lift our gaze upward, away from the frozen seas, away from the slow-moving glaciers, and into the vastness of the Ice Age sky. The nights then were long, especially in the far north, where the glaciers reached like white continents across the land. There, the winter stretched on and on. The sun barely touched the horizon, and when it set, the dark returned quickly, deep and endless. But that darkness was never empty. It was filled with stars. Stars so sharp, so brilliant, They seemed almost alive. Imagine a sky without city lights, without fires too large, without smoke or haze, just the clear, cold air of an untouched earth. Every constellation shining with a brilliance almost unimaginable. The band of the Milky Way stretched across the heavens like a river of light, flowing endlessly from one horizon to the other. For those who lived beneath it, the night sky was not a backdrop. It was a companion, a constant presence, watching silently, offering both guidance and wonder. It gave direction to travelers moving across wide plains, and it gave comfort to those resting beside their fires. It was the great dome of stillness above a world of ice, and sometimes the sky would dance. Curtains of light, delicate and strange, shimmered across the heavens. The auroras, ribbons of green, violet, and faint red, unfolded like silk in the wind. They bent and swayed, rising and falling in patterns no one could predict. They shimmered like ghostly rivers, flowing across the stars. Imagine standing in that frozen silence, wrapped in furs, breath curling in the air, and then seeing the sky come alive. No sound, only movement. No explanation, only beauty. The lights folding and weaving, as if some unseen hand were painting the heavens in color. What must it have felt like to watch such a sky without words for it, without science to explain it, without names to contain it? Perhaps it was seen as the breath of spirits. Perhaps it was seen as fire in the heavens. Or perhaps it was simply seen for what it was. A wonder too great for explanation, too beautiful for anything but awe. Beneath this sky, people gathered. They sat together near their fires, listening to the crackle of wood, the wind across the plains, and the silence between. When they looked upward, they did so together, sharing that wonder. Some may have traced patterns in the stars, marking the paths of animals, the cycles of seasons, the movements of the moon. Others may have simply rested their eyes on the glitter above, allowing it to fill them with calm. Even in the deepest winter, when the cold pressed hardest against the land, the sky remained open, vast, and generous. It reminded every creature, human or mammoth, owl or wolf, that the world stretched far beyond the snow at their feet. It reminded them that time was larger than a single night, and life was larger than a single breath. Picture yourself now beneath that same sky. Lie down on a bed of snow, soft and clean, and wrap yourself warmly in furs. Feel the stillness of put the ground beneath you, the frozen earth holding you steady. The wind drifts faintly around your ears, but it is distant, gentle. Above you, the universe stretches outward in every direction. The stars do not hurry. They shine steadily, calmly, each one sending its light across countless years to reach your eyes. Some are white and bright, some golden, some faint and blue, together forming constellations that have guided humans for tens of thousands of years. Constellations that still shine tonight above you. Unchanged dot, let your gaze rest on them. Follow their patterns slowly. Perhaps you notice Orion rising, his belt of 3 stars sharp against the dark. Perhaps you trace the arc of the Big Dipper, pointing the way to the North Star, the fixed point in the turning heavens. Or perhaps you look simply into the endless scatter, star upon star, until they blur together into a soft, glowing haze dot. And if you wait long enough, the sky might begin its quiet dance. A glow on the horizon first, faint and green, then a shimmer, a soft curtain rising, swaying, folding. The aurora drifts overhead, changing shape with every moment, like a dream made of light. It flows across the stars, not hiding them but embracing them, as if the earth itself were painting with color on the canvas of the night. Breathe with it, slowly, quietly. Let the movement of the lights guide your own stillness. The sky above the Ice Age world was never empty, never silent. It was alive with wonder, and in that wonder, people found connection. They looked upward, and in the vastness, they saw themselves reflected. Their hopes, their fears, their stories, all carried into the heavens by the slow rhythm of stars. Perhaps they wondered, as we do now, about what lay beyond them. Perhaps they felt small, and yet part of something immeasurable. Perhaps they simply felt peace. The sky is still the same tonight. If you step outside, away from lights and noise, you might see it too. The same stars that shone above mammoths and hunters. The same moon that glowed across the ice. The same auroras that danced silently through the cold. The sky of the Ice Age has never left us. It is still here, still above us, still waiting. So rest now beneath it. Let the stars hold you in their stillness. Let the auroras drift across your imagination, door like silk in the wind. Let the silence of the sky be your silence too wide. Calm, an endless dot above the ice, the universe stretched on forever. And in its glittering calm, there was always peace. Asterisk, though much of the earth lay frozen, not all of it was ice. At the very edges of the glaciers, where the white sheets ended and the land breathed more freely, forests began. They grew like patient witnesses, standing quiet and steady, green against the endless white. The trees here were hardy, shaped by cold winds and long winters. Tall pines rose dark against pale skies, their needles sharp yet flexible, whispering when the breeze passed through them. Birches clustered nearby, their pale trunks shining faintly, shivering gently in the wind. Each tree was a sentinel at the border of frost and life, rooted deeply in the earth that the glaciers had not claimed. Beneath these branches, life stirred carefully. Deer stepped lightly across snow-dusted ground, their hooves leaving delicate imprints. They moved with patience, stopping often, noses lowered, searching for what little growth might be found beneath the snow. From the shadows, wolves padded silently, their paws pressing soft trails into the powder. They did not rush. They did not chase without need. They moved like the forest itself, quiet, watchful, part of the rhythm of stillness. In these forests, every sound was small but clear. The crack of a branch beneath hooves, the distant call of a bird, the low, muffled hush of wind moving between trunks. Each sound carried in the cold air, never hurried, never loud. Even silence itself seemed alive here, wrapping around each tree, each step, each breath. And then, as the seasons turned, the forest shifted. Even in the Ice Age, the earth remembered renewal. Spring returned, soft but certain. The snow melted, just enough for rivers to wake again, their waters running bright and clear. Streams trickled through the undergrowth, weaving silver lines across the ground, carrying with them the memory of mountain ice. Birds returned, filling the air with gentle notes. Their calls echoed between the trees, weaving songs into the quiet. Nests were built in hidden branches, eggs kept warm against the lingering chill. Life did not end here at the edge of ice. It moved slowly, but it endured. Picture yourself now, standing in such a forest. Around you rise tall pines, their scent sharp and clean in the cold air. Snow lies thin upon the ground, melting here and there into dark earth. From above, sunlight filters gently through the needles, dappling the white in faint gold. If you close your eyes, you might hear it, the slow drip of melting ice, falling rhythmically from branch to branch. The soft flutter of wings as a bird shifts, unseen but closed. The sigh of a breeze moving carefully, combing through pine needles like fingers through hair. This was the forest at the edge of ice. Not harsh, not empty, but balanced, steady, alive. It carried both stillness and movement, both silence and song. It was a place where life slowed down, adjusted, adapted, where each creature, each tree, found its way of surviving, not through struggle, but through patience. The wolves waited in the shadows, not restless but calm, their breath rising faintly in silver clouds. The deer moved with careful grace, heads lifting often to listen. The birds sang sparingly, their notes soft but clear against the hush. Even the trees themselves seemed to breathe, inhaling the cold, exhaling a faint warmth into the air around them. The seasons cycled here too. Summer brought green to the forest floor, moss spreading soft beneath the canopy, wildflowers lifting tiny bursts of color. Autumn touched the birch leaves with gold, scattering them gently across the snow that returned. Winter pressed down again, with silence, stillness, and ice. But always the cycle continued. Always the forest endured. Close your eyes again. Imagine walking along a narrow path, your steps muffled in the snow. The air is cool, almost sharp, but it carries with it the scent of pine, resin, and earth. Above, the branches stretch out like long arms, sheltering you in their green embrace. Somewhere nearby, a stream trickles softly, its water glistening as it winds around roots and stones. Every breath you take feels fresh, clean, as though the forest itself was sharing its calm with you. Pause here. Listen. The forest does not rush. It does not demand. It waits patiently, allowing each sound, each shift of wind, each drop of water to arrive in its own time. It is a lesson in slowness, a lesson in presence. The Ice Age was not only cold, it was varied, it was complex, it was alive, and at its edges, where glacier met soil, where silence met song, forests held their ground. They stood tall, patient, and enduring, guardians of life in a world shaped by ice. Even now, fragments of those ancient forests remain, pines that descend from Ice Age ancestors, wolves and deer still walking their quiet paths, birds still returning with the seasons. The earth remembers by, and if you stand quietly in a forest today, you might feel it too. The same hush, the same rhythm, the same breath of calm that once lived at the edge of glaciers. So rest now in this imagined place. The trees rise above you, strong and still. The ground beneath you is soft with snow. Somewhere in the distance, a stream flows, steady and sure. Above you, a bird calls once, then falls silent. The forest holds you gently, wrapping you in its timeless calm. The Ice Age was not only endless white, it was also this green, shadowed, and alive. A reminder that even in the coldest times, life finds a way to grow, slowly, patiently, quietly, at the edge of ice. Now, let us linger with the great animals of this age. The world of ice was not empty. It was walked by giants. Their shapes moved slowly across the frozen plains, across forests at the glacier's edge, across open steppe, where the grasses bent in the wind. The woolly mammoth came first, tall as a house, wrapped in thick coats of shaggy brown hair. Its curved tusks, long and white, arched like crescent moons, glinting softly in the pale sun. With each step, the mammoth pressed deep into snow and soil, its vast weight settling the ground as though the earth itself bowed beneath it. Yet there was no harshness in its movement. The mammoth walked with calm power, steady, unhurried. A herd moved together like a single breath, mothers, calves, and elders. Each step guided by memory older than any map. Beside them, another giant, the mastodon, heavier, broader, moving carefully through the forested lands. Its tusks were straighter, its back stronger, its presence immense. Where mammoths strode across open plains, mastodons walked in shadows, weaving between trees, their bodies parting, branches, their trunks reaching high for leaves. Each breath they released rose as steam into the cold, vanishing into the still air. And not far from them, in silence, lived the hunters, the saber-toothed cat. Its body was built for strength, its shoulders broad, its teeth long and curved like ivory blades. Yet even here, there was balance. It did not rush, did not take more than needed. It moved quietly through grasses, muscles flowing beneath its fur. Its presence a reminder that even in stillness, power can wait. When it struck with precision, sudden, brief, and then the land fell silent once more. But not all giants were hunters. Some lived with gentleness, their lives shaped by slowness. The giant ground sloth moved like a living boulder, deliberate and steady. its long claws curling not as weapons, but as tools to reach branches and strip leaves. It leaned against trees, sometimes pulling them down, reshaping small corners of the forest with nothing but patience and time. Across the open steppe, vast herds of steppe bison roamed. Their heavy heads hung low, their curved horns dark against the snow. Together, they moved like rivers of fur, flowing across the land. When the herd walked, the ground trembled softly, a rhythm that echoed the pulse of the earth itself. And then there was the elk, towering, proud, its antlers branching wide like trees against the horizon. Each antler stretched tall and broad, spreading into intricate shapes that caught the light of the low sun. When the elk lifted its head, the sky seemed framed between its antlers, as though it carried pieces of the forest above it. Each of these creatures belonged here. Each had a place in the slow rhythm of survival. They were not intruders. They were not mistakes. They were part of the great breathing of the earth, as natural as the glaciers, as steady as the forests, as certain as the stars above. Imagine the sound of them now, the low rumble of mammoths calling softly to one another, the quiet breaking of branches beneath a mastodon's feet, the hush of a saber-toothed cat moving unseen through grass, the deep, measured breaths of a giant sloth, the endless drumming of bison hooves across frozen earth, and the distant clash of antlers echoing like bells across the plain. These were the voices of the Ice Age, not loud, not hurried, but steady, grounding, immense. Though most of them are gone now, their memory lingers in the earth itself. Fossils lie deep in stone, bones pressed into ancient layers of time. Some rest locked in frozen ground, preserved for thousands of years, still carrying traces of hair, of skin, of life. And in dark caves, their forms remain painted on walls. Mammoths outlined in ochre, bison captured mid-stride, elk antlers stretching across stone. The people who saw them knew their presence. They honored them in color and line, in memory and story. And so we remember them still. They remind us that life is always changing, always flowing, always reshaping itself into new forms. What seems eternal will one day move into memory. What seems lost still whispers through the earth. If we pause to listen, close your eyes and imagine walking across a wide plain of the Ice Age. Snow lies thin across the ground. The air is clear, cold, but calm. Ahead, a herd of mammoths moves. Slowly, their shapes dark against the pale horizon. To one side, you hear the soft rhythm of bison hooves. To the other, the quiet shuffle of a giant sloth in the forest's edge. Above, a bird circles once, then drifts away. All around you is vastness. All around you is life, immense, patient, unhurried. Rest here with them, with the mammoths, with the mastodons, with the saber-toothed cats, with the elk, with the bison, with the sloths. Feel their presence, feel their calm. They are gone now, but not truly lost. They remain in stone, in earth, in memory. And as long as the earth itself breathes, so too does the memory of its creatures of immensity. Asterisk. Let us return now to the people of the Ice Age. They were not many compared to the immensity of the land. Their villages were small, scattered like sparks across the vast plain of time. Yet within those sparks lived warmth, care, and quiet endurance. They lived closely with the land, always listening, always observing the shape of the wind, the path of the herds, the rise and fall of the stars. These were not curiosities. They were guides, woven into survival itself. Their homes were simple, yet steady. Some were built of wood and stone, gathered patiently, put from the earth. Others were shaped from hides stretched tightly across frames, warm against the sharp winds. And sometimes, when trees were scarce, they built with the bones of mammoths, great ribs arched like beams, tusks marking the edges. By of the shelter, hides layered thickly over the frame. Inside, the air glowed with the warmth of firelight, shadows dancing softly across curved walls. Imagine one of these shelters now. The fire at the center crackles gently. A pot rests above it, steam rising with the scent of broth made from roots. Bend meat. Around the fire sit families, wrapped in furs, their faces glowing gold from the flames. Outside, the night is vast and cold, but here it is warm. Here, there is story dot by firelight. They spoke of many things, of animals they had seen, their movements and their meanings, of the stars, which they traced into patterns, watching them drift across the sky, of ancestors long gone, whose names still lingered in memory, whose spirits were never far. And when words were not enough, they turned to paint, pay in the depths of caves, where the air was still and cool. They pressed their hands against stone, leaving red and black prints that remain even now. They painted herds of bison, their bodies in motion. They painted horses, captured mid-stride. They painted mammoths, their great shapes outlined in ochre and charcoal, the same creatures who walked the frozen plains outside. These were not idle marks. They were offerings, remembrances, connections between people, animals, earth, and sky. We do not know exactly what these paintings meant. We can only guess. Perhaps they were prayers for good hunts. Perhaps they were celebrations of what had already been given. Perhaps they were stories, told not in words, but in color, in shape, in gesture. And perhaps, just perhaps, they were dreams. The same dreams we carry still, to understand, to belong, to leave something behind that says, we were here. Feel, if you will, the quiet devotion within them, the patience of mixing pigments from earth and ash, the hush of torchlight flickering against stone, the steady hand drawing the curve of a bison's back, the sweep of an elk's antlers. This was not done in haste. It was done with care, with reverence. These early people were dreamers, just as we are. Their world was different, colder, harsher, slower, but their hearts were not so far from ours. They gazed at the same moon, round and glowing in the dark sky. They traced the same stars, scattered across eternity. They watched the breath of their companions rise into the cold air, just as we do on winter nights. Imagine yourself now among them. You sit beside the fire, the warmth on your face, the sound of wood crackling soft and steady. A child leans against your side, drowsy with sleep. Someone across the fire begins to hum a low tune, wordless, drifting like smoke into the air. The walls of the shelter hold the heat. The night beyond remains vast and still. There is nothing more to seek, nothing more to fear, for this moment is whole. Outside, snow covers the land in silver. The wind moves slowly across the plain. In the distance, a mammoth herd passes, their shapes outlined faintly against the moonlit sky. From within your shelter, you feel their presence without needing to see them fully. They belong here, and so do you. The Ice Age was not only a time of survival, it was a time of belonging, a time when people lived in rhythm with the land, watching, listening, honoring. They left behind no cities, no monuments of stone, but they left something quieter and perhaps more enduring. Handprints on cave walls, whispers of stories by firelight, dreams carried forward into us. Close your eyes and rest with them. Breathe as they breathe. Look at the same stars they looked upon and feel beneath the cold sky. The warmth of human presence, fragile, resilient, eternal. The Ice Age was not only about creatures and people. It was about the earth itself, a planet slowly sculpted by ice and time. Imagine the glaciers, mile upon mile of solid, patient weight, not rushing, not hurrying, but moving, always moving, across the land. Their passage was slow enough to seem, still to human eyes, and yet, over centuries, they reshaped everything they touched. As glaciers advanced, they pressed into the land like vast rivers of stone. Mountains wore down beneath them, valleys deepened, widened, opening into soft U-shapes. Bed stretched for miles. Jagged edges were smoothed, sharp peaks softened, and when the ice withdrew, it left behind landscapes remade. Rocks that had once stood tall were ground into sand and gravel. Stones were polished until they gleamed in the sunlight. Boulders were carried across impossible distances, left resting in new places where no mountain stood nearby. They remain even now, silent witnesses to journeys measured in ages. And the lakes, oh, the lakes, where glaciers pressed deepest, they carved out great hollows, leaving behind bowls in the land. When the ice melted, water filled these basins, sparkling under the open sky. Some became deep and wide, like inland seas. Others lay hidden among forests and hills, quiet and still, reflecting the trees above them. Many of the waters we know today, clear, shining, alive with birds and fish, were born in the Ice Age, shaped by the hand of frozen time. Rivers, too, found new paths. When the glaciers retreated, they left behind ridges and channels, guiding the flow of water in new directions. Streams braided across plains, currents twisted through valleys, and slowly the rhythm of the earth's waters settled into the shapes we now call familiar. If you have ever stood on a rolling hill, soft and gentle against the horizon, if you have ever walked along the curve of a river that seems too graceful to be chance, if you have ever gazed into a lake, its stillness stretching deeper than the eye can follow, you have seen the memory of the Ice Age, for it is the ice that carve these things, and the earth that holds them still. The earth remembers. Every stone, every ridge, every curve of a valley carries the touch of ice. Even now, long after the glaciers melted, the mark remains. It lies beneath our feet in the soil that was ground fine by frozen weight. It lies in the cliffs there, faces smoothed and scarred. It lies in the great plains, vast and open, where once there was only ice. Think of it as the earth's handwriting, etched slowly, carefully into the land. Not with haste, not with sudden strokes, but with patience, older than memory. Each groove, each hollow, each shining lake is part of that story. And though we may not always notice it, we are shaped by it still. The fields we farm, the rivers we cross, the valleys where our towns rest, they are gifts of the Ice Age, reminders that the planet itself is alive, changing, flowing across time. Close your eyes, if you wish, and picture it. Vast glacier, white and endless, stretching toward the horizon. The slow creak of ice moving against stone. The hush of snow falling onto its surface. Beneath it, the land bends, shifts, and transforms. And when the glacier retreats, the world it leaves behind is new. The earth carries this memory, and so do we. Asterisk. And now, as our journey comes to its end, let the pace grow softer. Let every thought, every image settle gently, like snow falling into silence. Picture once more the quiet of the Ice Age, a night sky sharp with stars, endless and still, a frozen plain stretching outward, wide and hushed, bathed in pale silver light, the soft breath of a mammoth in the distance, rising like a cloud against the cold air. And near the heart of it all, a small fire, glowing warmly, holding back the night. Around it, people sit close together, wrapped in furs, voices low, sharing stories with the flames. The air is calm, the world is vast, the rhythm is slow, steady, unbroken. Breathe with the stillness, breathe with the earth. Let your breath rise and fall like the gentle tide of time. The Ice Age is not gone. It lingers in memory, in stone, in the quiet shapes of valleys and hills. It lives in the lakes that fill the land, in the paths of rivers that once flowed beneath glaciers. It lingers in the creatures who still wander in echoes of ancestors long past. And tonight it lingers in you as a soft dream, as a gentle calm. Let the story fade now. Let it drift like frost dissolving in morning sun. Let it slip away, leaving only warmth, only peace. You are safe. You are warm. You are resting in the long, patient rhythm of time. The earth cradles you. The The stars keep their watch above you. The quiet of ages flows through you. Good night, traveler. Good night, dreamer. Sleep well, and let the stillness carry you home.
you.